Hello, everybody. Welcome to Eternal Midnight. I'm your temporary host, Dylan, and I'm joined here by three very fine gentlemen. Uh, let's see who we have. Santi, how are you, dude?
I'm doing great. Sorry for last week's episode. My Wi-Fi bugged out. Please forgive me.
Uh, no problem. Let's see. Chad, how are you, my man?
Good, Dylan. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. And lastly, we have Ken. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Dylan? I'm happy to be back.
Uh-huh. Well, don't be too happy, because tonight we are talking about 2007's Hannibal Rising. I wrote here, a movie more brain dead than Ray Liotta at the end of Hannibal.
Haha. But
At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let's with Santino.
This movie is basically the Alien versus Predator Requiem of the Silence of the Lambs franchise. That's what it is. And we're we're not. I really can't say that much about it, but for not good reasons at all. Like these are like because Hannibal Rising fails in every way possible. It fails as a horror movie. It fails as a Hannibal origin movie. And it even fails as a comedy because there's nothing funny about it whatsoever.
yeah, like Hannibal, as bad as it is, it's at least over the top crazy in its really bad moments. This is just dull from beginning to end. I was bored to tears. There were like 20 minutes left of the movie, and I'm just like, I almost turned it off. I'm like, I don't even want to finish this. This is just boring to me. But yeah, much like Silence of the Lambs, I feel like there's not much we can say, but for totally different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a really, really bad revenge film. It doesn't really. I got what they were going for, but I didn't need to see why Hannibal became a cannibal. The way they had Hannibal portrayed in this film, I never could have seen that character evolving into the Hannibal Lecter we saw in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. Oh, also, that's a curious question. I know in the Hannibal TV series, he's is he French in that one?
Well, Mads Mikkelsen's Danish, but I think he's also Lithuanian there. They do
Okay, yeah,
briefly,
Lithuanian.
yeah,
Yeah,
they do briefly touch on like the castle and Lady Murzaki and his sister.
okay, I know that the actor who plays Hannibal in this movie is French, but
Huh.
no, my question is, if this is supposed to be in the same timeline as, the Anthony Hopkins movies, then did he just really fix up his English accent and like really just adopt the accent perfectly? Like, how is this the same person?
I guess that's not too much of a stretch that he refines British accent. But what's weird is that at the end of this movie, he still has a French accent, but he moves over to like Baltimore or Canada at the end of the film.
Yep.
So if anything, his accent should sound more American.
Yeah.
I also think I'm gonna pull. I always hate to pull things from like other critics because it makes me sound like I'm unoriginal. But I'm gonna pull from what Vito said about Solo. It's like the reason why he said in Solo that the reason why Solo a Star Wars story fails is because it's a pointless origin story. Like why do we need to see the origin of Han Solo's gun? Why do we need to see the origin of Han and Chewie's friendship? Why do we need to see the origin of where Han got his jacket? It's the exact same. We can apply exact same logic here. Why do we need to see the beginning of Hannibal Lecter? We don't. It's taking away from the magic of the mystery. It's like we don't need to see the origin of how Hannibal became the cannibal. Like we don't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, I think the problem is that the only thing they pulled from Hannibal Lecter's character is that he was a cannibal. That's the only thing that we learn, like why he's a cannibal in the film. We don't learn like how he learned to get so like psychologically manipulative. We don't learn how like where he got his like wry sense of humor from. The only trait they got was the cannibalism, and that's like the least interesting aspect of him.
Exactly.
Even that didn't make sense because just filling in the blanks in my own head before ever having seen this film, I always just kind of went off the thought process of he became a cannibal because while studying psychology or something, he stumbled across it, and it was some weird psychological thing of eating other humans or something. I don't know. And it's just, I never thought it would go back to because a bunch of war criminals ate his sister. It's
Yeah.
like, why would
That's
that?
the weirdest thing ever.
Wouldn't that more flip it to psychologically scar him away from something like that? I mean, it's the same bullshit I heard about that Cruella film. Like the Dalmatians killed her mom or
Pushed her
something.
mom off a
So
cliff. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
now
yeah,
she's
yeah,
upset.
exactly.
So now she hates them and wants to make a coda. It's like, no, you got it backwards.
Yeah,
No, but, like, it's the same thing. Like okay, Hannibal is not like the Joker, where like you can have like an origin film and be like, well, you can pass it off as like one of Joker's many origins, because Joker himself said like, oh, it's, if I want to pass, I prefer to have it multiple choice, right? Like it's like this is probably one aspect of the Joker origin that we never know, or it's a multiverse. Like, but the thing with Hannibal Lecter is like, okay, we get what makes him so scary is not the fact that he was doing he had an origin story. It's what he's doing now. It's like, who gives a shit about how he became a cannibal?
Well, it's like for me, it's like I don't care for Rob Zombie's Halloween because I don't want to know Michael Myers' backstory. I don't want to know Hannibal's backstory. It's scarier what you don't know. And as I understand it, Thomas Harris, the writer of the books, didn't want to write another Hannibal book, but the studio said they were going to make a Hannibal prequel, whether he wrote a book or not. And so he said, okay, well, I don't want them to bastardize my creation, so I'm just going to do the best I can.
So he bastardized his own creation.
Exactly. I feel like he just didn't want them to do it, so he just thought like, okay, I'm just going to bullshit something at least.
Maybe it's like a middle finger to them, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's important to note that this is the only Hannibal movie that's also like the screenplay is also written by Thomas Harris.
Oh.
Yes, that's correct.
So I can't just say something was lost in translation because it's his adaptation.
Yeah.
It's honestly also like if someone wrote or made a movie like The Overlook Origins, like see how the Overlook Hotel came to be. It's like, why? Why did
Santino, don't say that because people will want to do that after you say
God.
that.
Hey! Any scriptwriters are saying, don't take my word for it, okay? Don't do that.
I've heard rumblings of it online. I'm genuinely, it's funny. I'm genuinely shocked that's never happened. I'm shocked there hasn't been anything about the previous caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like
a Mr. Grady story.
I'm stunned it hasn't happened yet. I'm glad they went with Dr. Sleep, but it's like I'm sure that at some board meeting they'll go, what's a popular franchise? What can we do to exploit it? And it'll happen.
Yeah.
Everything does nowadays.
The main actor, the French guy, he does a fine job, but it's like at the end of this film, I can't really see this being the same Hannibal that we know. Like, I don't know how this Hannibal anyways, would get someone like Miggs to bite his own tongue off and swallow it.
Exactly.
It has absolutely none of the mind games or the deep psychological dives of the previous film. The only thing it's adapted from it is just dumb violence.
Yeah, I'll say I actually don't care for this portrayal of Hannibal, but I don't blame the actor. The actor's name, I'll see if I can pronounce this. Gaspard Ullier, I think, is how it's pronounced.
Okay.
I mean, I can't blame him much because when he's not talking, he does have sort of an intimidating look. Like when he's using the horse to like strangle that guy at the tree, when the blood splatters on his face, and the smile he has is creepy. But it's just the dialogue that was given. He wasn't given much to work with.
Yeah.
It's almost like the transition between the way Anakin Skywalker was in Revenge of the Sith versus the way he was in A New Hope. It's just like, I don't understand how a character went from this to that. It doesn't line up. And I know there's years difference in between, but still it's like the way your personality is when you're older is kind of shaped by what you were when you were younger. And it's like, if Hannibal didn't have the psychological pull that he had in Silence when he was younger, that's not really something you can teach yourself or learn. That's a gift that you're kind of born with. So I can't see him, like you said, I can see it like that when he was killing the guy with the rope, the look that the actor had on his face. Yes, that was a very Hannibal Lecter-ish look. I will agree with that. But like you said, it's just there was nothing psychological or deep about this character. They just took the name Hannibal Lecter and plastered it on a random psychopath who murders people on a badly paced revenge quest.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, as I was watching it, I thought of like, okay, how can I make this movie like better? Like if I was writing it, how can I make it better? And really, one way I would approach it is probably like maybe don't like go at the beginning and like show all the origins and shit. How about just start Hannibal off as like a student, where he's like, I'm an A student. I'm good with like math and I'm doing well. And he's in a biology class, and then he gets hits like, and he's examining cadavers, and gets like first taste of like he just like basically cuts one piece of flesh off and bites and eats it.
So it's like the movie Raw.
Yeah, like it's okay. I haven't seen Raw, so I don't know exactly.
The plot sounds similar.
Yeah, okay, but like it's basically a slow climb to the cannibalism. If you're gonna focus on the cannibalism, at least make it like a slow climb, not like, oh, I saw my sister get eaten, and I guess it looks good, so I'm gonna try it too. It's like, no, that's not how it is.
Yeah, I think there's a more interesting story in the cabin at the beginning. The story of the two kids surviving with the Nazis. I think that's where your interesting story could have been, but most of that's just told through poorly shot flashbacks. That can almost be its own standalone horror movie of these two kids stuck in a house of cannibal Nazis.
Yeah,
I'll say a much better film.
Yeah, I'll tell you. One thing that, and this is sort of changing the subject, but something that just made me just roll my eyes, and it's on the poster. But just when he takes the samurai mask and puts it over his face, sort of to mimic the muzzle that they give him, I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake!
Did they forget why that's iconic? I think they did, because how the hell is a samurai mask supposed to foreshadow? He only wore that mask because he attacked the nurse and bit her face off. That's the only reason they ever stuck the mask on him.
It's just a fan service moment, I guess.
Yeah, a badly done fan service moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think another major flaw of the movie is that there's no like anchor for the audience. There's no relatable main protagonist like Clarice or Graham, who Lecter kind of bounces off of. Because Lecter's our main character here. The closest thing we have to like a normal person would probably be Lady Murasaki, but even then, I thought there wasn't much to her character either.
See, I agree.
She didn't have a character.
I agree there because Hannibal Lecter is not a good main character. He's always a good.
Agreed.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Well, I think they were trying to go to bring up Star Wars again. When we watched the Star Wars prequels, no matter what anyone thinks of them, we could still root for Anakin because we knew at the end of Return of the Jedi, he redeemed himself and he was like, I'm glad, I was able to redeem myself before I die. So watching Anakin's rise as a Jedi, we could still root for him. We're not supposed to root for Hannibal, though. So why am I supposed to be glad that he didn't get caught by the cops and thrown in prison? Why am I rooting for him? He's a violent psychopath. I know he's killing Nazis, but it's like, we know what happens later in his life and he doesn't get caught till he's older. So it's like, why am I rooting for this monster of a human being?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Santino made a good point in that, Hannibal Lecter really serves well as sort of the supporting character, even though Anthony Hopkins won Best Lead Actor with 16 minutes of screen time. Either way. But what's so impressive isn't it just impressive that this character, who has always been sort of secondary in all of his stories, has become such an iconic figure?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Huh?
I think
the power of the writing.
Yeah, and yeah, in this one where they tried to make him an anti-hero, it just fell flat.
Yeah, maybe they could have focused more on Detective McNulty. McNulty from The Wire. shows up every once in a while. So you at first think he's going to be, oh, he's our cop character, but he doesn't do anything throughout the film.
No.
I mean, like, it's like there are some things you can't like give origins to. Some things are best left a mystery. And again, I'm gonna quote Vito, who quoted Roger Ebert, but not directly, because like I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like the naive little boy opening the drum to see what made it bang. Like sometimes it's best to leave things a mystery. You know, it's like it's best to leave things like unanswered. Like that's part of the experience of movie watching. Like you don't have to always go down every crack and crevice.
Yeah.
To explore.
So many prequels just lose the focus of what they are. They focus on specific aspects, and half the time they just forget to tell an interesting story, because this could have been an interesting story, but even the Revenge Quest stuff wasn't that good because they didn't pull it off right. I mean, they got the villains right. I mean, these are Nazis, evil Nazis, but it's like, even that, it's like, you still didn't pull me in though. And it's like,
exactly.
That's what, when I'm watching Nazis getting killed and I'm bored as shit, you've really done something wrong.
Exactly. Well, and I think that sort of goes to show, it's like, yeah, it's very easy to hate Nazis. Like that's a pretty easy bad guy to set up. So it's like, when you do that, it's like, yeah, I can understand these are good people to be killing, but that doesn't like justify the future of who Hannibal Lecter is.
So we've been shitting on this movie pretty hard. Is there anything you like about it, or any potential ideas do you think it got right?
Honestly, no. For me, none. I really tried, but
I think
feels
sorry.
Pointless.
It feels what?
So this whole movie feels pointless. It feels like, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this. Okay, it feels like it exactly feels like the Harry Potter prequels. Can't believe I'm dissing them, but like, yeah, there's no need for you to explain the Dumbledore and Grindelwald origin backstory. In the same way, there's no need to explain a Hannibal backstory. It's like there's no need. Keep it a mystery. Keep it a mystery.
The one positive I will give this is Gaspard Ullier. He like I said, he looks intimidating as Hannibal. Like he has like a good creepy smile, but they didn't give him any good material to work off of, and I can't say much positive for this.
I mean, I think I liked the actress who played Lady Morisaki. I think she was a very gorgeous woman, but even she wasn't really given anything to do, it felt like. I mean, she felt like she was just more there along for the ride. I will give, probably the one scene I thought was pretty well done was when he killed the butcher.
Okay.
I enjoyed that. That felt like that's all it should have been, almost, for certain aspects of his character. Like, we could have just had that kill, like that's his way of justifying why he feels he's entitled to kill people, maybe like a first step or something. I don't know, but I think something I forgot to bring up. So the movie ends with, so remember, this whole movie, they know his name is Hannibal Lecter, and the cops are after him now for all the murders. The boat blows up and they think he's dead. Wouldn't his name still appear on some database somewhere when he becomes a famous doctor in America?
You'd think. That's something that just
Did
makes
they completely forget that part?
It doesn't even line up with Red Dragon, because
because he would have gotten arrested because he was still alive.
Yeah, Will Graham. If we're counting Hannibal Rising as canon, Will Graham is one of the dumbest people ever, because he didn't know that the famous doctor.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have done any research on this man's history, his past, all of it. But no, it's like, if he'd never been on the cops' radar, absolutely. But the fact that they were ready to arrest him and they only didn't because they thought he blew up on the ship,
Yeah.
No, his name would still appear in the database.
Exactly. That's why I'll say, Santino, like,
or
what
some cops would remember. They'd be like, "Hey, that's that guy we were after years ago. Go to America and extradite him."
Yeah, Santino, like your suggestion just made more sense. It's like, I think he should become a good established psychiatrist before any of this happens. Before he goes insane.
Exactly. Like, if you're gonna make an origin story, make him like if you're gonna do an origin story, make it like there's this Hannibal Lecter. He's a great student. He's an A student. He's a charming man. He's good with the ladies. And maybe one girl finds out, oh my god, like he's actually eating people. Like, have him start eating dead bodies first, and then
he eats her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he eats her. Or it doesn't have to be a girl. It can be like a best friend. It's like, and he eats him. All right, yeah. If you don't want to be sexist about it, it can be a guy. Best friend.
That probably would have been edgy for the time. Having like showing him as like bisexual or something, maybe.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But, maybe make it a trio where like Hannibal, so this really aged psychiatrist therapist, and like he has a girlfriend, he has a best friend, and they both die because they both.
That's the show Hannibal, pretty much. It's pretty much the show Hannibal.
Yeah, well, they even hint at in the movie Hannibal that he does sort of like flirt with Mason Verger to sort of get his trust, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the show, there's like a pretty strong like homoerotic undertones between him and Will. But yeah, that just adds to the point that the movie's just completely lacking psychologically.
Exactly. This movie, I mean, I still don't think we needed a Hannibal Origins movie, but it could have been done. I think everything we're saying could have made this way more interesting.
Yeah, like I said, the one thing I thought had potential was the small cabin with the two little kids surviving the Nazis. You could have had the whole movie take place there, honestly. Another thing I'll say as a positive, this movie looks like it has a budget. I mean, it goes from Lithuania to the Soviet border to France. It doesn't look cheap. It looks like it was shot on location. I don't think it
looks expensive. Yeah.
It doesn't look as expensive as Ridley made Hannibal look, but it definitely looked like it had a budget.
It's still pretty like amazing to think that the first Silence was made on a budget of 15 million, whereas Hannibal was like 80 million, I think. Same with Red Dragon. Yeah. With your money can buy talent.
Hey, sometimes tell a filmmaker you only have X amount of money and you can't have any more, they will put those creative minds to work. But when you have unlimited access to cash, that's generally when things fall apart.
Yep. Well, I think it was Kevin Smith who said, when you've got a lower budget, it forces you to be more creative.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Same applies for Star Wars.
Yep.
Definitely. No, that's a fact. Absolutely.
Nice shot there, Dylan.
Well, thank you. So it seems like we're kind of wrapping up. Does anyone want to have a final thoughts, final opinions? Anyone?
No, I'm good.
Don't watch this movie.
Don't watch it. It was I wanted to turn it off. Like when there were 20 minutes left, I was like, I can't even finish this, but I powered through it.
You can actually watch the Hannibal Lecter saga without like watching this movie.
This movie is not canon to my mind.
Yeah.
No, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense either.
Just dull, ugly, bland, and fundamentally flawed, because I assume this is faithful to the source material, and it just feels like an afterthought.
Lazy cash grab. And it didn't even do that right because it didn't make any money.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that wraps up our thoughts on Hannibal Rising. So we will now move on to our personal rankings of the entire franchise, from Manhunter to Rising. So would anyone like to start?
I'll start.
Go for it.
Okay.
So at the very bottom, Hannibal Rising, no surprise there. And then second second to the worst, yeah, Hannibal, for obvious reasons. Again, I want to explain more, but like, yeah,
No, your mic cut out during that episode, so we didn't get to hear all your reasons.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want to say your piece about Hannibal now, go ahead.
Sorry, exactly. Okay, just real quick tangents. Since my mic cut out, there are some good aspects of Hannibal, but ultimately, I really think the reason why this movie fails is because I think it's the same reason with Rising. It's like you don't need a sequel to The Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
It's like he got away and he's out there. Let's leave it at that. Just open ending. In the same way,
kind of like the original thought process behind the original Halloween. He got
Yep.
away. Where is he now? What?
Or you could have exactly, or you could have done it in a way like The Shining did, like after that photo, after that camera zooms in and you see Jack Nicholson's like past life. Like you don't need like a direct sequel to exactly what happened after that, but you can do like a sequel 50 years later, or like 30 years later, on like maybe a descendant of Clarice Starling catching an aging Hannibal Lecter who wants to go out and like have his last meal before he dies. I think that would
do a sequel without Hannibal.
Or do a sequel without him.
The Further Adventures of Clarice Starling.
Yeah. Like they never caught Hannibal Lecter. Like he disappeared, which gives it uneasiness to the entire saga. Like that means that guy is out there. So which I think is awesome. I think you could have like an entire story of Clarice Starling catching these killers with Jodie Foster, and that'll be awesome.
Well, we got the show Clarice, and from what I heard, that kind of backfired. But
yeah, I've never heard anyone say anything good about it yet.
I haven't heard much about it, so it just sounds like it was probably underwhelming.
But,
it's not Jodie Foster.
Yeah, you're right, Sandy. Even without Hannibal Lecter, the story of Clarice and Buffalo Bill would be a strong enough movie on its own.
Yeah, exactly. All right, midpoint Manhunter. While I do like it, I just feel like Red Dragon surpasses it by a slight margin, and that, of course, the silver medal goes to Red Dragon for all the reasons I said. I've talked a lot about it in the very first opening. So like the opening to this month, I've talked a lot about it. So my reasons are pretty much there. And number one, of course, Silence of the Lambs. It's like a Rocky video we made. It's like Rocky 5 at the bottom, Rocky 1 at the top, for obvious reasons. Silence of the Lambs is perfect in every way possible.
You can't beat it.
Can't beat it. Exactly. No matter how good you get, you can't beat it. So yeah, those are my reasons.
Well, I'll go ahead and do my listing. It's very similar with one change, and I think it's a pretty obvious change. But anyways, Hannibal Rising is at the bottom. It's totally unnecessary. The guy was an okay actor, but they just didn't give him much material to work with. And it's very, very forgettable movie. Next one up is Hannibal. It's insane. There's a lot of wacky stuff happening, but the plot is just meandering about. And I felt like no one grew in that one. Yeah, then next up, we are at the good Hannibal movies now, at least. Next up is Red Dragon. I like Red Dragon a lot. I like Manhunter after watching it for the first time just a little bit better. It could just be because it's more fresh in my memory, or it's, just a more fresh movie having just watched it. But I don't know, but Red Dragon, Hopkins is great, Ray Fiennes is great, Ed Norton is great in it. But yeah, next up is Manhunter. I just think, while we got a little better explanation of things in Red Dragon, I think Will Graham's character arc is portrayed a lot better in this one, with him wrestling with his own mental health and him battling his own demons from his past. I think it does everything with that a lot more interesting. Quick question. Actually, do you guys know why they called the first adaptation Manhunter?
Was it a rights issue or?
No, actually, as I understand, since it came out in, I believe, 86, it was mid-80s, And I think producers at the time thought with a title like Red Dragon, people would assume it's a martial arts movie.
Okay, that makes sense.
And yeah, and so they just went with Manhunter. But yeah, Manhunter, I think it's great. Brian Cox is very different from Anthony Hopkins, but it's an interesting, different take. And of course, number one, The Silence of the Lambs. It's, like I said when we were talking about it, it's perfect from top to bottom. I can't say much more about it. Its visual storytelling is something I think should be taught in film schools. Great all around, and that's my ranking.
Okay.
I'll go next. Yeah, Rising is last because it's pointless. Don't watch it. Watch the show, I guess, if you want more on who Hannibal is. Don't waste your time with the film. I remember when I first heard about it and everyone was like, oh, it's pretty bad. I was like, oh, but I still want to see it. And after watching it, I mean, yeah, everyone was right. Just, you don't need to watch this. You're not missing out on really anything in the slightest if you skip this one. Read the synopsis. I'm sure it'll go faster and you won't be as bored. Hannibal, next. Good ideas, not fully executed well, and also loads of bad ideas and badly handled. No main character, no arcs, no real growth. It's just, it looks good. I enjoy some parts, but I mean, it's really not that good of a film. Next, I'm going with Manhunter, only right in the middle. There is tons of aspects I like in Manhunter better than Red Dragon, but there's lots of stuff that the second place, Red Dragon, gets better. And I almost wish there was a way to take the best from both and combine them to like make a new film with the best of each, because I think we could have had something like equally as good as Silence of the Lambs if some of the best of Manhunter and Red Dragon were combined into one. And then obviously place number one, a perfect film, Silence of the Lambs. There's nothing to say. It's a perfect movie and it deserves to be at the top of almost any horror list because it's perfect all around.
Great. And well, yeah, my ranking's not much different from any of you guys. Obviously, at way down at the bottom is Hannibal Rising. It aspires to be like The Godfather Part 2, ends up being more like Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Well said.
Yeah. I mean it.
Oh man, that nice. Nice one. Nice.
If you've seen Texas,
you got me there. You got me there.
Okay, I should have said more like Leatherface. That weird prequel.
That was
about Leatherface. Yeah.
That movie that wanted to be Devil's Rejects so bad.
Yeah. It reduces one of the all-time great horror villains into just a dumb slasher anti-hero. So yeah. The one part I laughed at was when the German dude goes to Lady Murasaki and says something like, your asshole would look like this violet, and then he eats it. That part's pretty funny because of how unexpected it was, but yeah, that's about it. Anyways, what's happening at number 4? Yeah, Hannibal by Ridley Scott. I admired what he tried to do. He tried to make a grandiose, operatic crime drama. There was some slight like espionage, spy movie elements to it, and there was some really gratuitous exploitational gore. Unfortunately, it kind of failed at being any of those. It's just a big muddled mess. Number 3, Red Dragon. It's a very slick, effective thriller. Great. It's very well shot. Great score by, I think, Danny Elfman. Yeah, great performances across the board. Obviously not a fan of Brett Ratner as a director or as a person, but, the dude, he did a good job, not gonna lie. Okay, number 2, Manhunter. Honestly, 3 and 2 are pretty interchangeable depending on my mood.
Agreed.
But, yeah. But Manhunter, I am deeply biased towards Michael Mann, and it has sort of this like Miami Vice fingerprints on it. But even then, it's definitely significant for crime, drama, thriller movies in general, and I think it's a much more subtle, effective adaptation than, say, Red Dragon. And then number one, big shock, is Silence of the Lambs. Just a perfect movie in every aspect. Whether you're teaching about writing or directing or the art of building suspense or performances, this movie it has it all. And yeah, definitely one of my all-time favorite movies. So yeah, that's I guess it wraps it up, and this concludes Hannibal month. Shad and Santino, are you guys teasing what you're doing for the month after?
Santino, what kind of a drink? We're going from like a mixed bag, like 3 good movies, 2 bad, of what I'd call a classy horror series.
Mm-hmm.
What are we what are we shifting into gear and transitioning next into, Santino?
It's funny you say that, Chad, because we're
How is it?
We're shifting into gear to watch. I honestly can't believe we reached this point in the podcast. We're gonna watch all the Fast and Furious movies.
Is this all in 1 month, or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there's like 9
months.
Okay, well, can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah.
Good luck to us.
Yeah, good luck to you guys. Try keeping your brain intact.
Godspeed, fellas.
Oh my god. This is gonna be all this is gonna be long, Chad. It's gonna be really, really long.
Don't remind me.
Try not to get lobotomized.
Oh god.
Anyways, so yeah, that was a fun month, everyone, and
Thank you. I just want to say
It was good.
I just want to say 2 things. My sincerest apologies for last week's episode about me cutting out. I really apologize for that. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. No problem, man.
It wasn't a good look, honestly. So I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Number 1. Number 2, I want to say super thank you to Ken and Dylan for coming on and doing this month with us. It's been really fun.
Oh, well, thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
To echo what Santino said, absolutely. It's always a blast having you guys on. I love listening to you guys' insights. You guys always have so much to add. It's always a pleasure having you guys on. And I mean, for the most part, you guys know our schedule. In my mind, you guys are always welcome to come on anytime. You know what's coming next, and you want on. All you got to do is let us know.
And I was thinking, Chad, maybe let's have Ken and Dylan on when we do John Carpenter's The Thing, because I know you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be down for that.
I know how much all of you guys love that movie, and
I could talk about that for like 3 hours at least. I mean,
that'll be a nice 12-hour episode if all of us can talk about it for 3 hours. Nice.
All right, so thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And Dylan, lead us out.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening, and I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner.